got love for you, man. You know what I'm saying?
What are we talking about? You know, I'm not here to start any trouble.
I'm only going to say nice things about you from now on. I think you're handsome, and I think you're a wonderful host.
I'm fat and I'm overweight. Just don't say anything silly.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I'm not laughing about it. You think this is funny? I take it serious.
You know, I don't want y'all to take anything out of context that I'm saying.
He's very funny. He likes to joke around a lot.
As a personality and as an entertainer, yes.
This is going to be really quick. I'm not taking any questions.
Go ahead and get comfortable. I'm going to talk for a little bit.
You're listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.
Welcome, 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 welcome back to the Cabbie Presents podcast. I'm your host, and you're about to experience the strength of street knowledge. You're actually not going to get, actually no, you will get some knowledge. But it's not from the street. Not from Compton, like Dr. Dre said in Straight Outta Compton. I just saw The Tanning of America on VH1 recently, and there were some clips from NWA in that special. And also, shout out to Neil Brennan, who has a funny joke about NWA in his special, Women and Black Dudes. It's very good. It's on Comedy Central for like $5. You can order it. I recommend it. So again, I have to apologize to the audience. Some of you guys hit me up on Twitter, which I do appreciate, and reminding me to be more frequent with the podcast. I've been traveling a bunch. I just got back from Oklahoma City. I met Kevin Durant, interviewed him for a piece, and he shouts out Boy Wonder, the T.O. producer who's been responsible for many of Drake's hits and one of Eminem's biggest hits of his career, Not Afraid. It was Boy Wonder's beat that he rhymed on. So shout out to you, Kevin Durant, for acknowledging and praising one of our talented Canadian artists. So I've been doing a bunch of stuff on TSN for SportsCenter, and if you missed those segments, you can go to tsn.ca/Cabbie Presents or look it up on YouTube. So today, one of my close friends, one of my good friends, joins me on the podcast. I didn't have to twist his arm to be on it because he does me a lot of favors, whether it's introducing me to some of his friends or taking me for a workout or offering his house every time I'm in California, and more specifically Los Angeles. Super good dude, and recently ripped Adam Burrish, who told some stories about being friends with Vince Vaughn. And he took to Twitter to say, just because you wore a Vince Vaughn shirt or you've met him doesn't mean you're homies. So he's going to tell that story and many more. And he joins me on the phone right now.
If it's going to be an interview, I'm going to conduct it. So I'll answer my own questions, ask myself the questions, then give y'all the answers.
The first time I met this man was in 2007. He was the anchor of a Montreal Canadiens defense. I can't remember the theme of the interview. It may have been about people watching or like a tell-all book. Either way, he was very cool with me. And he's very handsome too. So it was like weird looking at him in the eyes. And then in 2009, our relationship changed. I wasn't just a media guy, but it changed to something else. You know, we were in Montreal for the NHL All-Star Weekend, and even though Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby were hockey's biggest stars, Sheldon Souray ran the city. Now, this is 2 years removed from dressing in the iconic Montreal Canadiens sweater, and this dude ran things. And I got to taste a little bit of his life in that weekend. I'll tell you that story in a moment, but I'm happy to be joined by Sheldon Souray.
Dude, what an intro, man. I got to hire you as my PR guy.
But it's a truthful one.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
No, it's truthful, 100% truthful. What do you mean? It's like, that's actually how it happened. It was the one interview. You were in Toronto. I interviewed you, and then just a couple of years later, it was, I think we just saw each other at the All-Star game, and then we exchanged numbers. You're like, yo, come have a drink or come meet up for food. And then I met you at Cavalli, And at that night, I saw my first 11 out of 10 in real life. There was a girl behind the bar she walked in slow motion, dude. She was unbelievable, like just an absolute stunner. And that was like, you're like, not that you're there to like talk to girls and stuff, but like that was like nothing to you. That was like a random Tuesday night to you.
I was probably just, so focused on our interview or our dinner that I didn't, I was oblivious to everything happening around us.
Well, you did have a lot of people there. You had like your whole family, like your sister was there, your mom's was there. Who's the dude that was in Smallville, one of your closest friends?
Oh, yeah, Mikey Rosenbaum was there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, to live and play in a city like Montreal, you just get spoiled by how good the restaurants are, how hot the women are, how great they treat you when you go out for a dinner or, you're just cruising around town after a practice for coffee. I mean, it's just, it's a hockey city and the greatest hockey city in the world. And, to be a part of it, to see all that stuff. It was fun when I went back with you because we got to see it. I got to go back as a visitor and kind of, have my eyes open again. That was a fun weekend.
Yeah, and you are still treated like the king. And in French, that is le roi. You're treated like le roi. Okay, so two things. One, I remember, so on the work side, I remember this interview that we did. It was post All-Star game. It was just after the game. I'm in the Western Conference All-Star dressing room because at the time you were playing for the Edmonton Oilers, and I asked you if you needed to shower after the game, as it seemed like no one was playing particularly hard. And your response was, I'm not going to shower, but if I did, I'd have to wear that jacket because it has a strong odor of cologne. Now, in this interview, I'm wearing like a black zip-up. It's like a Man U or an Arsenal zip-up, and I guess I doused myself with cologne. And I'm like, which one? Like mine? And I responded, and then you asked the brand of cologne I was wearing, and I was trying to say Jean-Paul Gaultier, but you comedically hit me with a Drakkar Noir. It's Drakkar, isn't it? And I exploded. And that clip was included in a top 25 list that I compiled from an old segment I used to do back in my Score TV days. And I've since stolen that line, Drakkar Noir, and I used it on Mike Camilleri the last time I saw him, which was maybe 6 months ago. Did not fail. He doubled over in laughter because no one's expecting that reference to come with regards to cologne. So thank you, sir. I'm crediting you now, but I have not credited you in the past when I've stolen your line.
Oh, dude, you are welcome to use that anytime. And I have the female version for when I go out and, you're sitting beside a nice-looking lady and you're talking to her and she smells good and you tell her she smells good. You say, wow, you smell good. What is that, exclamation? and you either get a drink dumped on your head or they laugh and then you know what kind of girl you're dealing with. Then you can just take the night from there. So that's my female version.
I like that exclamation. I am 1,000% going to steal that like in the next 48 hours.
Yeah, you need to. You got to. It's almost like a disclaimer with that joke, though, because it's either going to go really good for you or it goes horribly wrong. So, it's a good one.
I imagine if you look like you, it always goes well. If you look like me, I'll have a vodka soda dumped all over my face.
Dude, when you look like me, you better be funny. It doesn't get you very far. So you better have, you better have some backup.
I would love to punch you in the face.
You probably have.
Yeah, right. So the second, and more importantly, which relates to the storytelling that I like to do on the Cabbie Presents podcast, which you happily agreed to participate in because you're throwing shots at Adam Burrish in just a few days ago when he came on the podcast. But here's when I knew that you're a god among men. Okay, we were rolling with your friend Max. And Max owned a few restaurants in Montreal. You set me up with a table at Med when Med was like a hot spot in Montreal. And, of course, Buona Notte. When Buona Notte had its like – you were there in the Buona Notte prime because we got there in 2009. And Buona Notte was sort of like on the back end of its prime. And you were there from like the years where it was just like gasoline, just fire. And I can imagine, and I'd like you to tell me a story about Buonanotte in that era. But okay, so this is the story. On the closing night of NHL All-Star Weekend 2009, we're in Montreal. We're at a club called Opera, which apparently is no longer in existence. Opera was this huge nightclub, multiple levels, and we're kind of in the back at this bar. And you have your back to the rest of the club, and you're talking to your friend Max and another dude. Shelly, I don't know if you realize this, but I'm watching you just have a conversation with your dudes. I'm having a cocktail, and there are actually, this is real, this is not an exaggeration, although I do live in hyperbole sometimes. There were like 7 women waiting just to catch your glance, and you have your back to the women, and each one of them, dude, was like a dime piece. I'm saying the average hotness was about an 8.8. That's the average hotness. So there for sure, there's probably a girl that was like an 8, maybe like an 8.2, which I would have happily befriended from then until infinity. But you had, and then there were some who were hotter than an 8.8. But you didn't even care that they were there, dude. That's how I knew you were a god among men. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Oh, buddy, I must have had like some mustard on my shirt or something. They must have just been wanting to tell me.
Yeah, that's why women would be clamoring and to tell you.
They must. Well, they probably just wanted to tell me. They probably just wanted to tell me, there's something wrong with me, or trying to kick me out of the city. But, dude, you know what? The reason why I said I would happily come on this podcast is because you make everybody who comes on here feel good, and I am no exception. So,
you're dodging it. This is you're dodging it. You're dodging it, Shelley.
On that note, this is a good story, but dude, when I go out, I'm with my guy. That, going back, honestly, on a flip side, I do remember we did have a lot of fun there, and we did strike up a friendship before that, and we did become, you kind of cross that line. You don't usually mix media guys and with business with pleasure type thing, but I remember we did strike up a friendship, and we've been friends ever since. And I do remember being there for that All-Star weekend when I'd left Montreal and had gone back as a weekend to see my friends, and I had my family there with me, but to see my boys, to see you, to see all the guys just talking about Max and Rafi and Giovanni, all these guys who were doing great things in Montreal. So to come back there at that time, being, I don't know, paying attention to things that weren't important, wasn't catching my attention. I mean, it was like I was there to see my friends, to enjoy coming back there as as a success, I guess, at that point in my life for being in an All-Star game and stuff. So I came back there and I enjoyed it as coming back to see friends. But that said, we did have a little bit of fun.
I'm gonna give you an anecdote, which is from my friend Brendan Lynch. His mom has told him this when he was in high school, and Brendan Lynch has since given me this nugget, and I like to say this, is sometimes when you're thirsty, you'll drink dirty water. You were not thirsty, but you had like the Evian friggin' Alps. You had the mountains, you had the most pristine drinking water available to you. You're like, you know what? I'm not thirsty. I'm just going to stand over here and catch up with my dudes. Listen, I respect the game because clearly you weren't thirsty or hungry. But to a dude like me who's missed many meals, if we go on this metaphor, man, an introduction would have been nice.
Dude, you know what? I thought that you were. I thought the cat for the first time that since I'd known you, and I felt like the cat. So if you would have spoken up, I gladly would have helped you out. But I just looked at you and I thought you were enjoying yourself because you had a big smile on your face. You didn't have enough hands for all your drinks. So I just figured you were having a great time. There was no issues. It
was a fun environment to be in. So what cologne are you using these days?
Oh, man, Old Faithful, Old Spice.
Shut up.
Oh, dude.
But the Old Spice deodorant is dope. That actually lasts all day in the red container, like the original or whatever. Those are dope. But what cologne are you wearing?
Dude, I swear to God, I'm not here. I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I'm skating on Sunday nights with in the summers with the Jerry Bruckheimer, and there's some actors and stuff. one of these actors comes up to me one of these nights, and he goes, "Man, what kind of cologne is that?" He goes, "That's a really nice cologne." Kind of laughed. It's kind of like the Drakkar joke, right? He kind of laughed, and he's like, "No, dude, seriously, what is that?" And I said, "No, I'm serious. It's Old Spice." So I go away, another summer goes by, and I go back, and I'm skating with this group again. It's been like a year later, and one day this guy shows up at the skate, and he comes out to me and goes, "Man, I got to tell you, bud," he goes, "you weren't kidding with that Old Spice." He goes, "I've been wearing it. I've had so much luck with the ladies," and he goes on this story, and I'm killing myself laughing. I'm like, oh my God. Well, hey, I gave him a push in the right direction. I guess he took the ball and he ran with it. But
dude, yeah, because maybe those women recognize a familiar smell, and they're like, you know what, I like this smell, and this smell excites my pheromones. So you know what I'm gonna do?
It's a beautiful thing, buddy.
Dude,
what cologne are you wearing? What kind of cologne are you wearing? That day that I did sit next to you, I felt that you must have, bought a new bottle, and you must have dropped it on your way to the rink or something. Dropped it on yourself.
I may not have showered before I went to the game. I may not have.
A good young-looking news reporter like you, sports reporter, coming in, a dressing room full of other young studs, smelling as good as you did. I thought, wow, who's this guy impressing? Because you did smell good. That's a true story.
Well, I appreciate it. Okay, listen, at the time, I was rocking Jean-Paul Gaultier because it's a great smell, powdery. I like it. It's fresh. For a while, my original scent was Allure by Chanel, but I rocked that for like a good 3 or 4 years. Then I went to the Jean-Paul Gaultier, and then I rotated those two with this one scent by Lacoste. But now I'm rocking this smell called Armani Code. But I rotate all four through because I don't want to just have one overpowering smell like I did in that interview in 2009.
No, don't pigeonhole yourself. You got to have a little rotation.
Yes,
I'm understanding where you're coming from. Absolutely.
And one of the reasons is I know this girl who's a flight attendant from Air Canada. I won't say her name, but I met this girl. This has probably happened to you, but I met her on the plane. Okay, I met her obviously because at her job. I met her on the plane, and then I saw her after the plane landed, and so whatever. So and I recognized her smell, and then I saw her other times in Toronto, and she always had the same scent. And I've seen her recently within the last, I'd say, like 4 months. She still wears the same cologne, same perfume.
No good.
Dude, I met this chick in like 06. I'm like, it's almost a decade, and you're wearing the same, I don't know if it's body lotion or perfume, but it's the same smell. Because I think the sense of smell is the first one we remember, I think, as humans. I don't know if it's the visual, but I think it's a smell or whatever. But anyway, so that's part of the reason why I'm so adamant about rotating my scents too, because I'm sure there are some chicks that I met in the past and I was wearing the same friggin' cologne because I can only spend $90 every year on a new bottle of cologne. But that one irritated me.
Well, they must, maybe she had a good year in 06.
Oh, maybe.
You know what I mean? Maybe she had a good year and she, got a couple kills under her belt and she just got some good memories from 06 and she doesn't want to let go of that. And it sounds like maybe you were one of those memories. So, you can't really blame her.
I think she probably wants to forget. She probably, if she's holding up her resume in a court of law, there's going to be a lot of redacted files on that resume and my name will be a black streak. It will be a thick Sharpie through my name.
She might want to hit the Jean Coutu for a bottle of exclamation.
Shout out to Jean Coutu. For those that are listening to this podcast in the U.S., it's like a CVS or a Walgreens. And here in Canada, it's like a shop. Or for other parts of Canada, it's like a Shoppers Drug Mart. It's a little local convenience store. Okay. So
I'm all ears.
All right, but I want to share some stories with you. So to the audience, I'm going to tell this one story about actually the last time that I saw you. I was in L.A. for some reason. I can't remember what I was shooting, but I hit you up. I was like, yo, Shelly, I'm in town for a few days. You want to catch a workout? And you're like, yeah, let's catch a workout. So I go to meet you at your crib, at your friggin' castle on the PCH. And here's the thing about your place. Is like, it's nondescript from the highway until you drive up to it. So your highway, so you're not your highway, your driveway is long and thing, and you lead up to your place, and then you don't realize how friggin' deep your place goes. Like, your place is easily as long as, it's like a hockey rink. Like, you're so far deep into the campus. Anyway, so at your place, we change and we go to a gym in, is it Malibu, I guess?
Malibu. Yeah, we went to Malibu gym.
Gym in Malibu. And you are actually throwing around 45s as you do these lunges and step-ups, and I'm trying to keep up with you with 15s in each hand. And then you have the Bonsu ball out, and you're just like, I am frigging dying. Like, my left lung is about to collapse, and you're trying to take it easy on me, but I'm trying to keep up. And I have no problems, like, admitting or showing the world that I'm a disgusting fat pig, and I don't have the mental stamina to keep up.
Way too hard on yourself.
I'm telling you, no, dude, you were killing it there, and we just did like a 45-minute circuit. And at one time, I'm laying on the mats, face down, and you're like, "Are you okay, bud?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. Just let me sit here for a few minutes." Boom. Cut to, we leave again. I collapse on the friggin' pavement. We snap it for Twitter, and then we go back to your crib, and then you give me like a fresh coconut. And I don't even think you had a knife to cut off the top. I think you just cracked it with your hand. And then you just gave me some fresh coconut juice, which I appreciated. And that was wonderful. So at which point in your career did you come to enjoy working out? Because you're not just born the way you look. You chiseled yourself into a friggin' Michelangelo's David.
Dude, that's funny. I do remember the when we did go work out there. I think it was in probably early June or mid-June, so workouts were starting to ramp up, and I was probably just starting to get back into like the swing of things. And when you came and you asked me to work out, I felt like you wanted to get like a real workout in. You know what I mean?
I got one.
So I think we kind of came out of the gates a little too hard. I think I overshot the target, thinking that you wanted to get a little more of a workout in than you obviously did. But even that was fun. I don't know. Was Sean Penn? Did we see Sean Penn there that day? I think we were people watching that day too, and we were like,
I don't know if he was there. I would have been like I would have embarrassed you if we saw Sean Penn.
I thought it was me and you that were there. We seen him and we were joking about it after. But I do remember going back to the place, and yeah, my kids, they like these coconuts, like the raw coconuts. And if you just here's how I learned about this. So I go to Vegas for this hockey tournament. I go to the mall one day, and at the mall, they have this huge sign in one of these like middle kiosks, where now it would be they fix broken iPhones, Well, it's this big kiosk, and it's got this thing that says, "Are you hungover? Try one of these, coconuts." So the guy sits there, grabs one of these coconuts. He has this little machete, and he kind of knocks a little hole in the top of this coconut, pokes a straw in there, and you have the coconut water out of a fresh young coconut. And dude, it's like hangover cure, 101. I mean, it's just the thing that works. So I incorporate that into, with my kids and fooling around with my kids, and like that's our little treat.
Because your kids are getting drunk and they need to have a hangover.
Yeah, because my kids are just out of control, so I want to rehydrate them. No, they just love the whole thing of Dad kind of cracking open a coconut. So that's where I kind of had them, and then you came, and I'm like, why don't we try this out? And I remember that you quite enjoyed it. I think it put a little pep back in your step, and then we went out for a nice lunch. But to answer your question, I guess when I first broke into the league in like '97, I came close to making the Devils the year before that as a young kid, and then the next year I thought it was going to be pretty easy. I was going to come back into training camp and just make the team. And I didn't train very hard that summer, so I was cut from the team right away and played in the year before I was there right to the end. I was like one of the last cuts of the team. And then the next year I had broken. I remember that I got called back into Lou Lamoriello's office, and he said, if you ever want to have another chance to play in the NHL, you're going to have to, to never, ever make this same mistake again and make a commitment to your training. So that wasn't lost on me. I mean, I wanted to play in the NHL, and I figured if that's the sacrifice I had to make was to, do a little weightlifting and get in shape, well, I was, by all means, I was going to do it. So it started when I was pretty young, and in Jersey, they just kept me there in the summers. I would just train all summers. I would, go and work out with their strength coach in the mornings, and the team would pay for it all, so I would just be there. I wasn't spending any money. I was able to stay in New Jersey. I would go to New York City or down the Jersey Shore and on the weekend. So it was a pretty good gig for me, but at the same time, it really got me into training, and it really made a difference in, I think, how the organization viewed me. I mean, they saw that I was putting in the effort, and, it just made me a lot more prepared to play in the NHL. So, and then once you get there, you know what they say, once you get there, getting there is one thing, but staying there is another. So once you get there and you kind of have a little bit of success or you taste a little bit, you just want more. So you'll do whatever it takes. So training's a big thing. I mean, these kids now are like, freaks of nature coming in at 18 years old. I mean, I was a pretty chubby
You were
kid.
chubby?
Yeah, at 17, 18, I was a pretty chubby kid. That
Like
had
actually chubby or like Drew Doughty chubby?
Probably
or like Phil
more like
Kessler
Drew
chubby.
Doughty. I was just chubby. More than anything, I didn't have any direction. You know what I mean? Like my diet was loose, and my training habits were non-existent. So it wasn't that I was like sloppy. It's just that I didn't really know. I didn't have to ever take care of myself before, because I'd gotten to where I was kind of, I don't know if it was on talent, but I would say more on just being a big kid and being able to squeak by. But once I knew I had to train and that was part of the gig, it was no problem. It's something that I kind of embraced and enjoyed, and made me feel better about myself, and obviously makes me a better player. And as I've gotten older, Cabbie, and being in Malibu, and Chris Chelios kind of took me under his wing, and we all know the stories about Chelly and what a nut he is with training. So, as I've gotten older, it's almost gotten easier to train because I'm in that environment with these guys who are hardcore animals, maybe not in the gym, but, out on the paddleboard on the ocean or on a bike on 3-hour bike rides or, carrying a log on the beach. I mean, some unconventional stuff, but stuff that's made it fun and interesting too, not just going to a gym and reading off a sheet of paper, but doing something that's actually kind of functional and fun.
When did you notice that, like, this would be like my last workout question. Actually, yeah, I have one about the gym and one about working out. When did you notice the change in, like, programs for hockey players when they went from, like, explosive drills and exercises to, like, this kind of plyometric circuit-style brand of training? Like, do you remember when did that start to change? Because it feels like kids now are just in this circuit plyometric kind of high intensity, high amount of reps kind of training.
Yeah, I probably got into training. I probably just caught the beginning of that curve. Like training was kind of getting out of bench press and squats, for as many as you could do. It started kind of getting into some circuit training and maybe a little bit more track work and, maybe a little bit more plyometric stuff. So I think I kind of started training when that just was starting. And then naturally, over the course of my career, I've just kind of followed that arc, you know what I mean? It's just gotten more and more, less sort of like heavy lifting, more into being powerful and explosive and short burst stuff, as opposed to, bench press and leg press and just squatting and riding the bike. And then, like I said, I've also been able to align myself with some pretty cool dudes in California that are serious about training, but not training in a gym, like training, on bike rides, on paddle boards,
Dude, you
training
mentioned
on the
like
beach.
logs on the beach. When do you ever see a friggin' log on the beach?
Well,
Like
Laird
where?
Hamilton,
Where?
the big wave seafer. Well, these guys, so they just bring it. They make it happen. Like Laird
What do you mean they
Hamilton,
bring it?
big
The
wave
dude.
surfer.
Yeah,
It's a railroad tie, dude. You put a rope around a railroad tie. You put it on your back, and you got 5 guys as competitive as Chris Chelios and Laird Hamilton and Johnny McEnroe and whoever else is out there. And you say, put this rope on your back with this log, and now whoever can, walk with this thing the farthest is the winner today. So that's kind of how their training goes. I mean, it's like, who can do the most push-ups today? Who can run to, the pier and back the fastest? Who can ride the biggest wave today? So once I started getting out of, like, the gym protocol and kind of into training with these guys like that, it's like if you don't have weights at the beach, well, they're going to bring them or they're going to make them. And that's what makes training fun, that competitiveness.
Shelly, I just don't know how the log got to the beach. Like, I've been to California. The only logs there are, like, holding up the piers. Those beaches are pretty clean, man. They film Baywatch there.
I know. They brought, so that, in that instance, they brought the railroad tie. You MacGyver up a harness that you put on. It's dude, I'm not kidding. I mean, that's going to be our work. Next year when we're doing this podcast, you're going to have tried this, and you're going to be like, whoa, that was insane.
Actually, I do have to come to L.A. soon, actually, in the next, 2 weeks. So I will come out. I don't know where you'll be. Maybe you'll be on the road or maybe you'll be home. But I'll if you're up for it, I don't know if I want to do a log on the beach, but I'm down for a bike ride or friggin', I don't know, throwing around rebar or like moving. Hey, Cab, we're gonna take these this bricks and mortar and we're gonna just build a little fort. And the first person to build this fort in 30 minutes, you have to lift all these 800 bricks, wins for today.
I gotta think of something. I think my dog needs a new dog house. So I should think I'll make some. I'll rope you into doing something like that. But no, it's that's the fun thing about being down here. The training, like I was just to elaborate on the training just for another second. Being in California, being outdoors, and me being here since like 2000, it's been so fun because health and fitness and looking good and having a healthy lifestyle, eating well, it's what it's all about out here, So it's been it's easier to come out here, let's say, and try to get in shape and try to be in shape and stay healthy than it is maybe in Edmonton, The weather, the people that are around, maybe the knowledge, the amount of gyms, all that. It's just, LA is a really, it's conducive to having a healthy lifestyle. So it's one of the reasons why I've moved out here and stayed out here. And I'm not the only one. I mean, look at the population out here. The sun works really good. So
yeah,
it's not a bad place.
Can't really beat the year-round weather there. Okay, so Chris Chelios. Okay, I'm just gonna just put his name into your brain. I want you to tell me a great Chris Chelios story because he lives across the street from you. But before we get to I was at the gym recently, and I was going to play squash with my boy Sonny, and there are 2 guys in there, completely naked, and talking really loudly. Like, it made me feel uncomfortable that 2 naked dudes were having a conversation. And then they walked into the shower naked and continued to have a conversation loudly in the shower. I was like, is there no friggin' etiquette at the gym?
Bad etiquette.
That is bad etiquette, isn't it?
Yeah, that's bad etiquette. You gotta.
I'm like, who are you trying to impress? I'm just another dude. There's not like any chicks here who could see your friggin' your 1-pack. Like if you had a 6-pack and with the V, all that stuff connecting to your lower abs. Yeah, I get it. You want people to look at you.
Still not acceptable. You can't keep your voice down and put a towel on. You don't know people. If you're in a dressing room with 25 guys that you see naked every day, and it just is, you don't care. That's one thing. If you're in a gym where you don't know people, or you know one guy, just keep it down. Mind your own business. We'll talk about your stuff when you go to Subway for lunch. Don't worry about it.
Hey man, those $5 footlongs, I've lived off those. A lot of carbs though. A lot of carbs.
These flatitas that they got, these 2 for $5 flatitas, these little pizzas now. That's my thing now. And
I like it.
Heroin.
I like it. Hey, so how do you feel about Okay, I was on Twitter today, and for those listening, to follow Sheldon Souray's adventures on Twitter, it's at @SSouray, one word, SSOURAY, at @SSouray. So like this dude I was following was like, he like was giving like a birthday shout out to his girlfriend, and I noticed, I don't know if you're on the Book of Faces on Facebook, but people do it all the time, like, my best friend of 9 years, I'm so happy to be married to you, all this kind of stuff. Is that the expectation now in relationships, is to like make these public displays of affection? It's almost like you have to do it in a public forum, as opposed to telling your lady privately, like, you know, you mean the world to me. I mean, you know, and showing her that you love her and you care about her and you respect her and you want to wish her a happy birthday in private. What do you think?
Dude, what a great question, and such an appropriate question for like my situation right now with my girlfriend. And for our genre. Like, I don't have Facebook. I get people all the time are like, hey, man, you never hooked me back on Facebook. Hey, you didn't send me that jersey. You know, I had that conversation with you on Facebook. I don't have it. I'm like, dude, I don't have it. So I don't have it. I'm not a big social media guy. I'm not very smart with computers. I do like the Twitter because it allows me to follow things in real time. If I want to know something about, you know, this jet that's gone missing, well,
right,
I find out about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I want to find out about, you know, the building that blew up in New York, well, I just have to you know, type it in and I'll find out. 1,000 people are talking about it. But my girlfriend is on Twitter, and she has a lot of followers on Twitter, and, you know, she's fairly popular on Twitter, and she likes the Twitter a lot more than I do. And if I don't
is it public knowledge that you guys are together? Like, is it out there in the Twitter universe, or is that just for your friends?
Yeah, with Barbie, yes. Yeah, no. That's been out there for a while, right? You know, she kind of broke that ice. And she's got way more followers than I do, but like if I don't,
what is her Twitter handle for people that are discovering this for the first time, that you have, that you're in a that your girlfriend's name is Barbie
Blank. So it's the Barbie Blank.
The Barbie Blank.
Yeah.
And she used to be a wrestler, yeah?
Yeah, she's a WWE wrestler, yeah.
Or they're divas, right? They're divas.
Yeah, she's a diva, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, please continue.
So she's much more popular and much better looking than I am. So
dude, yeah, she's hot. She's an 11. She's an 11.
Yeah, she's good.
If I can say that I say that respectfully because I've met her. No. Wonderful girl.
You could say it disrespectfully to it all means
no.
She's still an 11. So I overshot my target there for sure, but. So when she breaks something on Twitter, she says, all right, here's a picture of us at home. I just took my boyfriend dinner. If I don't retweet that or say thank you, it's like watching a show on TV when, like, the guy in the movie, like, cheats on the girl. You know, I always, if I'm watching a movie with my girlfriend and, like, the guy cheats on his wife in the show or something like that, like, we're always in a fight because she thinks, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's the same thing on Twitter. Like, if she says something on Twitter and I don't immediately respond with, "Oh, I love you too, babe," or like, we are in a full-blown fight.
Oh man! So you
and I don't get it.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Like, babe, I feel like I show you every day how much I love you, and, you know, I don't feel like I have to justify it to, you know, my insignificant amount of followers. If you are looking for some sort of, like, public, you know, praise that you cooked me dinner, well, then maybe you shouldn't tell me. I love it that she does tell me because she's a lot more in demand than I am, but don't expect, I don't know, is it bad etiquette that you don't say it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, it's a different world we live in.
I never thought it was. Like, if they're saying it because they want to, right? That's the same, like, I would say it because I want to say something to her, which, you know, I share between her. Like, I don't feel like I love her anymore if I say, hey, guys out there on Twitter, I love you, Barbie Blank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I totally get
question.
it. I totally get it.
It's a really good question that you asked me, because I feel like I'd rather show her and tell her privately, but I still love her if she writes me something and I don't reply right away. Like, I still love you. You know what I mean? We're not breaking up that you cooked me dinner and I didn't say thank you to everybody.
She has like almost like 700,000 followers. That's a large following, and some of her followers are are Cam Fowler, one of your teammates, Adam Burrish, who's kind of the reason you came on, Biz Nasty, Bobby Ryan. These are some of your peers. Mike Commodore, George Strombolopoulos, and Questlove. Questlove, the drummer for The Roots, who's like one of the coolest people on Twitter. All follow your lady.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's well, most of those guys we know, and actually today I had Questlove follow me, which was a funny story.
Oh wow! Okay, that's dope, dude.
I'm following this thing on Twitter. It's like a fascinating pictures type thing. Like, that's what I like about. That's why I follow Twitter. You know, fascinating pictures or facts. You know, like Uber facts or whatever. Anyways, I see this thing on Fascinating Pictures yesterday. It's a picture of a wall with a bush kind of growing over this wall. Well, some street art performer came and he drew a head and an arm with a hair pick going into the bush. So it looks like Questlove.
Oh, nice.
So I just copied the picture and I, sent it to Questlove. I said, "What do you think, Questlove?" Well, he favored it and retweeted it and started following me today.
Oh, dope! That's awesome,
so
man.
I thought that was pretty funny. It's a small world, because I knew that he was already following Barbie, because he had sent her some sort of message before about, I think she won the championship. He congratulated her.
Oh, nice,
so
nice.
We'd already known that he was following her, but all the other people are all friends, and I think she follows all of them too. I mean, it's a little fraternity of guys, and we met some great guys along the way, and she's a popular person, a really cool person, and a guy like Adam is one of my best buddies that I've met. He's just one of my best buddies, period. Go on vacation with them and stuff like that. So
I didn't know you guys were that tight. I mean, you kind of ripped him or chirped him on Twitter, so I figured you guys were friends or friendly enough, but I didn't know that you guys were actually boys.
No, we're buddy. When I hated him, much like everybody else, when I played against him, and then when I went and signed in Dallas, the two guys.
Oh, that's right.
The two guys I thought I'd hate the most are the two guys I ended up liking as much as anybody probably that I've ever played with, and that's Adam Burrish and Steve Ott. I mean, just great guys to have on your side. So Adam, he comes and visits me in Idaho, stays with me for a week. We go on vacations. I mean, he's just a really, really good dude, and I enjoyed reading your handle when you said to him, read my podcast. He's friends with, or listen to my podcast. He's friends with Vince Vaughn. And that's why I had to chirp him. I said, wearing, an average Joe's gym shirt and watching Wedding Crashers doesn't make you friends with him. But he's got some good lines too. He's a great guy. He's, introduced me to the Aldine guys, so I've been able to
the country singer.
That group. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I mean, it's cool. It's a cool for being hockey players. There's really no, it's almost like having brothers. You know what I mean? So there's no, it's not like a weird thing. You know how girls sometimes, if they introduce that girl to a girl, well, everything kind of has to go through that girl.
Yes, they can't be friends separately. Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's not us. You know what I mean? Like, hey, this is Jason Aldean. Here's his number. Now you guys are friends. Like, I don't want to, it's so, that's been cool. I mean, I've been able to meet a lot of very cool people throughout, other cool guys knowing and doing cool things. So, Adam's one of those guys. You hit the nail on the head. He's a solid dude, like much hockey players are, and a lot of other people in different fields of work recognize that, and he's been able to do some cool things, and not to mention he's just a really good guy.
Tell me about your neighbor Chris Chelios. He lives down the street from you at your Malibu house. You mentioned it when I came to your crib. He's like, oh, Chelios just lives down the street, and he has these great parties. Can you describe what an average Chris Chelios party is like?
An average Chris Chelios party is going to start early in the day.
Okay.
it's going to go not too late at night because there aren't going to be a lot of people left standing.
Okay, yeah.
You're going, if you were inclined to do so, you would probably be asking a lot of people for a lot of different autographs. He is so connected to so many different people, from, whatever, Cindy Crawford to John Cusack to, when he won the Cup. I don't know if you were down there if you were doing any of the reporting on it, but like...
No, that was before my era.
Yeah.
Like 2002 you're talking about,
there.
right?
It was...
In Dallas or in Detroit?
02. Yeah. No, it was Detroit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That was like the greatest team ever assembled, that team, in my opinion. But
yeah, it might have been, besides maybe the Oilers, it probably, of our era, probably, with all this, with no salary cap and stuff, I mean, some of the biggest superstars. And, I remember, like, Tom Cruise coming down to get a picture at the beach, just to see it. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger coming down there. I mean, just everybody.
What do you mean? Wait. Tom Cruise went to Chris Chelios' house?
Oh, yeah.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Chris Chelios' house?
Well, you got to think, he had Kid Rock and Eddie Vedder singing on the beach with the house band. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a Chris Chelios party. So you're going to come down, and when you come down, his, best buddy, Kid Rock, is going to grab the mic and sing for, 30, 40 minutes. And then Eddie Vedder is going to get up and, sing a couple songs with the crowd. And whatever, John Cusack's going to be playing the tambourine while those guys are doing it. That's a Chris Chelios party.
See, that I don't understand how Chris Chelios is such a G. I know he played the bulk of his career in Chicago, and I guess he's just one of those old school gangster types, because recently when during the last Hockey Hall of Fame, when he got inducted into Hockey Hall of Fame recently, or like in September or October, whenever it was, there was one of the greatest parties ever thrown in Toronto, which seems like an average party at Chris Chelios' house, because at this party, Kid Rock, you mentioned, Kid Rock came and he was playing music they're at Gretzky's restaurant here in TO.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you. Yeah,
Were you there? Were you at this party or no?
No, but
okay.
I've been. Yeah, I wasn't at that one, but I've been at that party 20 times.
So okay,
Cindy Crawford.
Right,
and,
Cindy Crawford. Yeah. So Kid Rock was playing, and McEnroe was there, I believe, and Wayne Gretzky was there, which is Wayne Gretzky is like God here in Canada, obviously. And Michael Jordan was there, like the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Flew from Charlotte or wherever he was to Toronto to have to come to be a part of his Hall of Fame induction. Like Michael Jordan, I revere Michael Jordan. Resonates with me because I obviously love basketball, and MJ is to many people of my generation like the greatest ever. So when I heard, and my friend was DJing at Gretzky's, this dude named Captain Kirk, and he was tweeting about it, and I was doing a podcast that night. I'm like, I'm missing the greatest party ever right now. He's like, are you coming? I'm like, no, dude, I'm working. I'm following your Twitter feed. But I was like, holy crap. So I don't understand. Maybe you can enlighten me, but how is Chris Chelios such a G?
Well, he's just a really cool guy. Bottom line is he treats everybody like they're a celebrity, and he's the fan. You know what I mean? He is just, he's the reason why I moved out to Malibu. I was doing some training with him. I was going out there once a week and riding the bike or whatever with him. And he's like, why didn't you just move out there? Like, why didn't you just move out here, And I'll introduce you. I seen the crew he was running with. And obviously I've seen he's, one of my favorite defensemen of all time, one of my idols. I'm like, yeah, why don't I? And he just took me under his wing and I would say even helped me. I would go so far as to say he's helped me become a better hockey player. I met him in, 03 or 04 or 05, and just to be around him and to see, he's a perfect balance of you want to go out till 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning and have a great time and have fun. And then you want to be up at 7 in the morning and be the first guy at the gym and working the hardest. Well, that's Chris Chelios. So what a great guy to learn from, learn that, well, you kind of can have your cake and eat it too. It's going to be hard. I don't think everyone can do it because not everyone is Chris Chelios, obviously. But just a great role model. And he just treats everybody like, just like regular, whether you're Michael Jordan or you're Cindy Crawford or you're Kid Rock or you're his next-door neighbor or you're, the guy who played hockey with him 3 years ago, you're all being treated exactly the same.
That's how you treat me, man.
And that's
which I appreciate.
You're a good dude. I mean, Chelly's, another thing that Chelly is he doesn't want anything from anyone. Like he doesn't have an ego. He doesn't need to show or prove himself to anybody. He's just Chris Chelios. And I think people like that,
That's dope. I teased on Twitter, I don't know if we'll be able to tell this story, but I teased on Twitter, I said, I want to start with the story about your wall at your house. And I kind of say that in jest because I don't know if we could I don't think we could actually tell the story, but I went to we were going to do a story in 2009, and I flew out to Edmonton, and then it's the first time your hand got messed up, and we didn't get to shoot the story, and it was right around the trade deadline, and then you were going to get traded out west, and it didn't happen until the following year, and then dude, how many adult men have you punched in the face, whereas your hand is now it's not 100% anymore?
Well, that's one of the reasons, but Cabbie, I won't forget. I mean, and no one really knows this. I've never really told the story about everything that went down in Edmonton, but you were actually, and this, I mean, you had flown in to do a story on me, and I'd just flown back from the Olympic break after breaking my hand, and I had a surgery on it. I had just flown back from L.A. On the Olympic break to Edmonton, and you met me in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And we were going to do a big story, remember, and I got sick that day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, man, I'm not going to be able to meet you for dinner, and can we maybe just do this tomorrow or whatever? And you were so cool. You're like, yeah, man, cool. And, dude, that night I got rushed to the hospital.
Yes.
And I stayed 11 days in the hospital. I was 4 days in the ICU because I'd gotten a blood and a bone infection in my hand. And, I remember
because of the screws, right? The screws that were
the pins that were put in my hand. Yeah, I got a staph infection, and it was a very serious thing where they were talking about cutting off my hand. And everyone in Edmonton at the time was, once I kind of blew up the organization on my way out, everyone was like, "This guy's a baby, this and that." Well, I was in the hospital there for 4 or 5 days, and I remember the management had thought that I was faking an injury. They didn't even know that I was in the hospital, possibly going to get my hand cut off. And I just spent 4 days in ICU. But you were there. You remember that you were at I remember that you were at my house with your boy. I think he was the producer. And I said, guys, I think we're going to have to do. I started getting sick right then, and then that night I got rushed to the hospital.
I remember, and you told me, I was texting you, and you respond every few hours or whatever, but I remember having, I didn't want to, you told me what was happening with you, but I wasn't going to make that public because that's not the job that I have. I'm not a reporter in that way Pierre LeBrun or something. Great guy,
no,
but
we
I don't have to.
No.
Yeah, I don't report the news. But you were telling me what was going on, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of scary. You're telling me some of the complications. Holy crap! I'm like, I was like, do you want me to come by, bring some magazines?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I think you had some family had come or whatever. You were kind of you had your loved ones around you, but it was a weird moment for me because I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't help you. I wanted to help you, and then, I had the story to do, but I was like, F the story. I'll just wait to see how you're doing, and then you ended up spending 11 days in the hospital. We never did the story, but I remember you were very honest with me, and I wasn't going to report that because that's, I have no interest in that kind of stuff.
No, I remember that, buddy. I remember, and, the Edmonton debacle, it ended up being, on the way out of town, and I know people were really sore at me for that, and a lot of people got the wrong idea, calling me a baby, and that the team didn't call me, so I screwed them, and I left this big, left in this big blaze of glory. But you know, the truth was that I got really sick, and you were there for that. There was no faking that. I mean, they were going to cut my hand off in the hospital, and spending 4 days in the ICU was definitely not fun. But, you know, to be questioned about you faking an injury was something that, you know, I just thought was like kind of the turning point. And that was on from that, they had to put like this intravenous line in through my bicep, and that went into my heart. So I had to carry this little you would have loved this, because I had to carry this little fanny pack.
Oh, that's awesome.
With your
wallet
bag of medicine in it. With my wallet,
your car keys, yeah,
and my chapstick. I had to keep all that in this fanny pack. But no, I had to, for like 10 weeks, I had to keep this fanny pack on and get this medicine pumped in to get rid of this infection. And, you know, I had the organization, you know, thinking that I was milking an injury because I didn't want to play that year or something. So I haven't really ever told that story before, but I'm telling it now, and we're kind of discussing this because I remember you'd flown in to do that story, and you were there not as a reporter but as a friend, and you were really supportive. And you didn't end up running the story, which would have probably been a pretty juicy story at the time for you to get out there. But you know, that's why whenever you say you jump, you know, I say how high. I do appreciate our friendship, and you have been one of the good ones throughout my career, and you know, you're one of the good ones. But yeah, that's just talking about it now. It kind of seems like yesterday. You know, it was a long time ago, but that kind of seems like yesterday that happened. Hey,
we're not talking about the wall.
The wall. Well, why don't you just preface it a bit, and I'll just fill in a couple blanks. Maybe the name, maybe not the names.
Okay.
But we can just tell maybe.
So, true or false? At your house in Edmonton, there's a wall in your basement in like this massive like rec area that's like a chalkboard material. True or false?
True.
Okay. Now on this wall, some of the guests have write their names on this wall. True or false?
That is true. I like to have everyone who's visited that game room, I like to have them sign my wall.
Right. True or false? Was she a Playboy Playmate?
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, she okay. Yeah. True or false? Playboy Playmate has written her name on the wall.
Yes, true.
And true or false, my reaction to seeing that name on the wall was filled with profanities, and I couldn't believe it.
That was 100% true. That was 100% true. That was actually, I wish we had a camera on you for that one. That kind of caught you out of,
because I'm reading it.
Came out of left field.
I'm reading it, and then I see the name, I'm like, what? I'm like, is that blankety blank? You're like, yeah. I'm like, she was here? You're like, yeah. You're like, yeah, that was, yeah. I was like, man, you're a friggin' G.
Fun.
Man. Sheldon Souray, always a pleasure speaking with you, man, and I appreciate our friendship, and thank you for the stories. They were great. I know that we could talk for another 3 or 4 hours, but I don't want to keep you. You have some sunshine to go enjoy on the left coast. When I'm out there, I will holler at you, and I'm down to have a fresh coconut after a workout and after I eat some either sand or sweat or pride or working out with you on the beach.
Well, we will do all of that, and I appreciate you having me on. I know I've been out of sight, out of mind, and you have a long list of very, very important people that would love to do this with you, and thank you for keeping me in mind and having me on here to have a little fun with you, buddy. It's always a pleasure.
You know it, man. You know it. Okay, I'll talk to you soon, and get that hand back to 100%, please. No more punching dudes in the face.
Thank you, Daddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, brother.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Cabbie Presents, the podcast.